Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. How are you,
Shabbat
Cantor?
shalom to you, Joel. Rabbi Nickerson. Great to be with you.
Good to be with you. How are things in Carpinteria right
In
now?
Carpinteria, you can't tell by my background here. This is just the Orange Room. This is a place where we've come every summer for the last 17 years. Very different this summer because we usually come up and share the home with friends and can't do that this year, so it's very different. The beach is very quiet. Uh, Carpinteria is very quiet, even though it's Ventura County. Still a lot of places either closed or just pick up, and so it's a different experience. But uh, having said all that, I'm not complaining. It's nice to be able to relax a little bit and enjoy the beach and play some tennis, and
Yeah,
while
just a
still
change
working
of
while still working 6 or 7 hours a
right,
day, right?
but still a change of
It
location and
does.
perspective. It's still
Yeah,
really nice. Plus,
absolutely.
the memories that you have of all those past years, and even though you can't be there with your friends, I mean, those memories that you've created that I assume still fill the space while you're there.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, in a lot of ways. So it was a really nice opportunity to get away, and with Nancy and Jillian too. Look, for all of us, it's been a really challenging 5 months, and
God, has it been 5 months already?
well, really,
I think so. March, yeah.
March, April, May, June, half of July, and no end in sight, right?
Right.
We're
Yeah.
ratcheting up again, so yeah, it's been a welcome, change of scenery for sure. How about you? How are you guys doing?
Good, good.
Yeah.
I actually, the other night, I was very happy. Last night, I slept in my bed, and the reason I'm happy about that is because the night before, I did a sleep out with two of my daughters in the tent in the backyard, which was
Uh,
so much fun. I didn't sleep very well.
right.
It was a little rough out there, but it
Yeah.
was it was it was like getting away. So I love
Yeah.
those moments. We played Uno in the
Uh,
tent and Spot It, which is this fun little game. And
right.
I showed them the beginning of the movie, The Babes in Toyland, that classic old Disney
Oh my
movie.
goodness.
I
Oh,
know, it's so good. So, anyway, I feel
yeah.
like we could schmooze all day, but I assume the minion of people who are watching don't necessarily just want to know what
Time to
we're doing. But
daven, Rabbi.
so let's begin. I mean, it is wonderful. I see a lot of you on Zoom throughout the week, but and even though we can't see whoever's watching us, but maybe you can say hello if you're watching on Facebook. Feel free to write in a little note and say what you're doing this morning or anything from the week that stood out to you. And let's begin with Hine Matov. So the joy of virtually being together.
Absolutely. And I want everyone who's watching us now, watching and listening, you still have to sing along, okay? Even though we can't hear you, you should be singing with us. And there's no restrictions. There's no COVID restrictions on singing through Zoom. Okay, you're not going to spread your droplets to anyone. All right. So let's be together, and you have to sing. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Boker Tov, everyone.
Okay, so see, everyone else can sing along with you, but because we're on Zoom, I can't sing along with you. So I'm the one person who doesn't get the benefit of sing along with you.
This is
So that's
true. Unless you muted your microphone and then you could at least sing and hear yourself, right?
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
So the Nisim B'chol Yom are next, the daily miracles. Wanna...
Absolutely. These blessings are really, in some way, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Joel, connected with this morning's Torah portion in this way that each and every day we are commanded to be grateful and to express our gratitude. And in the Torah portion later, the whole second half of that portion is this litany of the rituals of every day and every holiday and what offerings they were to make. And it's pretty, it's very repetitive. There's like 2 words different in each one. And you look at it on the surface like, okay. But, and I'm also referring to Rabbi Leader's Shabbat message, which is no matter what, no matter how mundane or how dark the times are, you have to every day find a reason to express gratitude. And these blessings we sing every single morning of the week, of course on Shabbat as well. And from the musical perspective, it's Shabbat, so the melody for these blessings on Shabbat is different than from the rest of the week. Has its own unique sound that makes it Shabbat, right? So we'll all join together. And if you're on a prayer book, it's page 177. And if not, you have to say Amen to every blessing that I chant. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai, u'tenuma me'afapai. Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani b'tselem Elohim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani ben chorin. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani Yisrael. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betifara. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. This last blessing, we are commanded to engage in the study of the Torah.
Amen. Also, Shabbat Shalom to Judith and Samuel, who on Facebook said Shabbat Shalom to us. So we say
Shabbat Shalom to you.
Back to you. You talked about how the music shifts, the nusach shifts for Shabbat during the week, and Psalm 150 is next. And I just think about this role of the music, especially since we're in the midst of thinking about high holidays and pretty soon going to film high holidays early.
Yes.
And this idea that music,
we pray and hope, right?
Yes, we pray and hope. But the reality of how really high holidays is, the music is what holds down the high holidays, as it does, I think, with Shabbat in the week, and the idea that music can bring us on an emotional journey. And I think about the music that my family has been listening to over the course of this quarantine, and how there have been moments where we've turned to music to inspire us. There have been moments where we've looked for music to be a place of reflection, sometimes to instigate a dance party in the living room, and other times for us just to have a calm moment. So what I love about including Psalm 150 every day in our service is this idea that when you can capture the significance and strength of music, you have the ability to transport yourself spiritually and emotionally into places that you can't necessarily just through words. So that's what I love about Psalm 150.
That's a beautiful description of the power of music. Music, period. Almost regardless of what the text is, just the experience, the human experience of making music it's mysterious in many ways. The neuroscientists can explain it to us, what happens to the brain and then the body, but it is something that human beings have to do. It's not a choice, really. It's what we do because we're human, And exactly as you said, the melodies we choose that are so attached to an experience and a place. And again, on the high holidays, it is overwhelming in its power because it's so unique to those days, and it only happens once a year, right? So we'll join in a few phrases from Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Call on Shama to hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Call on Shama to hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. 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 Call on Shama to hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Call on Shama to hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
I took your advice. I muted myself. I sang along.
See?
Great. Yeah. We continue with Baruch Hu, our call to prayer.
Lai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol.
In a minute, we're going to do Shema, and I was just thinking about how when I was sleeping outside the other night, I was woken up by the birds, some sirens as well, let's be honest, but in how you are in the midst of the crashing waves in Carpinteria, and how one of the most important things in this time, as we talked about at the beginning of this time, I can't believe how many months we've been doing this, that when there's this welling up of either anxiety or sadness or an overwhelming sense that the world is so out of control, that Shema, this idea of just listening to those little sounds either around us or within us that can center us, can be so powerful. And so with that in mind, that's what I'm going to be focusing on as you chant Shema and then Ve'ahavta this morning.
That's beautiful. Let's all join together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We have a note on Facebook that Guy Bendoff is watching from Israel. So hello, Shabbat Shalom, Guy. Would love, Guy, in the Facebook chat, if you in the comments there, if you could tell us what Shabbat was like for you today in Israel, maybe where you are in Israel. Give us a little taste of what your experience has been like there. I, of course, have wonderful and fond memories of Shabbat in Israel, as I'm sure Cantor Gurney does as well. So maybe you can take us there, Guy, if you're still
we could
still
say we could say Shavua Tov to him as well, right? Because
true.
All right.
Yeah. So we continue with Micha Mocha. My family had the chance a week and a half ago to go to the beach before it was all closed down.
Right.
And it was so nice just to be at the shore of the sea. And I know you're at the shore of the sea as well this week, Cantor Gurney. So really that freedom that comes, the purity and the vitality that our tradition talks about with water, and the idea that we were crossing that sea was really a chance to bring about vitality to our souls and to the Jewish people as we cross the Red Sea, but that every single day we're supposed to imagine immersing ourselves in the mikvah of freedom. And so with that in mind, we'll continue with Micha Mocha.
Love that. It's beautiful. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai Micha Mocha נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים נשימך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed Sur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael ufedechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael kalenu Galenu Adonai Tzevot Shemo Kidosh Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
When you did that last line, Sur Yisrael, made me think about my times in the conservative shuls that I've gone to. My in-laws belong to VBS, and how there's the tradition in the conservative shuls that Sur Yisrael Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, the idea that that's the moment in the lead up to the Amidah that actually the whole community stands up. So that
Exactly right.
As we're getting into it, even before the Amidah, part of the freedom, right? And this idea, because in the English, so everyone knows, is Rock of Israel, rise in support of Israel and redeem Judah and Israel as you promised. That this idea at the end of Micha Mocha, as we are expressing our freedom, we're moving into the Amidah, we stand up on our feet before we even begin the Amidah. So for you to just think about what does it mean for us to be standing up, and how in the process of freedom that every day gives us this opportunity to stand up in a new way. And that leads into Amidah, which is the standing prayer where we declare our connection to a tradition that came long before us and will last long after us, right? Beginning with Avot ve'imahot, this idea of generation to generation, and then moving into this idea of strength. That freedom gives us the opportunity to find our inner strength and to connect our inner strength with the strength that God gives the entire world and each one of us. And moving into the idea of holiness, that when we can stand up and find our inner strength, we can bring holiness to the world around us. So we're going to continue now with the beginning of the Amidah, just the Avot and Geburot, and then we'll take some time for you just to have some of your own silent reflection to think about what it means to find that sense of strength within yourself.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agit ilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanara El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah Ata gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol Ata Rav le'hoshia Morid hatal Mechalkel chaim bechesed Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim Somech nofrim verofei cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishene afar Michamocha ba'al gevurot Umidom melach Melech minit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua ve'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol.
Now take a few moments of silent prayer. Thank you to Guy Guy just wrote a little bit of a description of where he is and how his Shabbat was today. It sounds like it was a beautiful day, Guy, out there in Israel. So thank you for sharing and being here with us as you enter into the week. Cantor Gurney, did you want to, I don't know if you want to sing something before we get into Torah to end the Amidah or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can use all the joy and spirit we can muster.
Amen.
Right? So let's see if we can find, for those who have a Siddur, page 211, the words of Yismachu, that we should rejoice in the delight and the joy of Shabbat. Right? So, Yismachu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismachu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekache, Mekache Shevi Shabbat, כולם יספקו ויתענגו מטובך שבת, ישמחו ומלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו ומלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג Shabbat.
Speaking of oneg, what would be your ideal oneg today, Don? What would be your meal, your fantasy meal, the Shabbos? If you were going to have a great Shabbos lunch today, what would that be?
Let's see, a nice big serving of cholent, and then waddle out to the beach, plop down on a chair, and take a nice nap on the beach.
I love it.
The second half is absolutely true, and I plan to do that. The first half, absolutely not. Probably just a nice, delicious salad, and maybe even a glass of, Shabbat wine, right? And then and do some water immersion, get into the waves a little bit.
Perfect.
I couldn't ask for more. That would
Nice.
be. How
If
about
you're
you?
watching, well, also anyone who's on Facebook, let us know if you already know what you're going to have for Shabbat lunch today, or if you could imagine your
Right.
ideal Shabbat lunch today. I know Merle from Arizona, so I assume it's very hot out there. So what would you have on this hot Arizona day? But even here in Los Angeles, it's going to be pretty schwitzy. So for me, I always have loved like the deli spread, the
Yes.
nice deli lunch on Shabbat afternoon, where you have a nice deli sandwich and with some salad and some Israeli pickles probably, and
No.
a little lemonade, and sit outside would be perfect. So
I
I'm getting hungry already. I feel like
have
it's
to
almost
tell you
lunchtime.
that sounded so perfect to me, but I am in Carpinteria, so the deli spread is going to be pretty difficult, if not impossible, right, for that. But I'm gonna dream about that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice lead in, I guess, to the Torah portion. As you mentioned before, this Torah portion does talk about sacrifices, animal sacrifices, what we
Yes.
should be feeding the priests. So we're going to move into the Torah service at this point. And so, Cantor Gurney, maybe you can chant a little for us, and we can open the Torah service, and then we'll have a little bit of a discussion or look at the fascinating, intense, dramatic story that comes at the beginning of this portion.
That it is for sure. So I think let's all join in the Torah blessings, right? We can all sing those together as a community. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aharon haKohen. Heshiv et chamati me'al bnei Yisrael. Bekan'o et kinati betocham. V'lo chiliti et bnei Yisrael bekinati. לכן אמור, הנני נותן לו את בריתי שלום. והייתה לו ולזרעו אחריו ברית כהונת עולם, תחת אשר קינא לאלוהיו, ויכפר על בני ישראל, ושם איש ישראל המוכה. אשר הוכה את המדיינית זמרי בן סלו, נשיא בית אב לשמעוני, בשם האישה המוכה המדיינית כוזבי בת צור, ראש אומות בית אב במדיין הוא. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, צרור את המדיינים והכיתם אותם, כי צוררים הם לכם ונכליהם אשר נקלו לכם על דבר פאור, ועל דבר כוזבים ותנשאים מניין אחותם, המוכה ביום המגפה על דבר פאור, ויהי אחרי המגפה, ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אלעזר בן אהרון הכהן לאמור, שאו את ראש כל עדת בני ישראל מבין 20 שנה ומעלה לבית אבותם, כל יוצאי צבא בישראל. וידבר משה ואלעזר הכהן אותם בערבות מואב על ירדן יריחו לאמור, מבין 20 שנה ומעלה, כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ובני ישראל היוצאים מארץ מצרים. We'll all join in the blessing after together. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you for that beautiful chanting.
You're welcome.
I want to say hi to Sung. Thank you for joining us, and Robert from Illinois, and Donna. Great memories that you have of your grandfather bringing you that corned beef on rye. That sounds delicious. That's
I didn't get to see that. Can you share that in greater detail?
Yeah, it says Donna wrote, my grandfather always came over after services for corned beef on rye, hot mustard, and sour pickles.
Oh my goodness.
Sounds good. Right there on the main line, right? I wonder what your deli of choice was, Donna, since I lived in Ballackinwood for a couple years. Curious what the deli of choice was, since there's a lot of debate, in places that have serious deli culture. There's you have your deli that you always go to. So anyway, we could talk about food all day, but I want to get into what Cantor Gurney chanted so beautifully for us, but it requires us actually to go back to last week's Torah portion, because interestingly enough, what we're doing in this week's Torah portion is continuing a short story that began at the end of last week. So what I want to do is I want to share my screen. I want to show you what happened at the end of the Parsha Balak, and then as the lead-in to what's happening in the beginning of this Torah portion. Now, when I looked at this, given, of course, the beauty of studying Torah is that the context in which you're living really resonates with the text, and you have this capability of making Torah come alive with whatever you're dealing with in your own life. And especially for me, I've been thinking about what we're dealing with as a society. And so I want you to be thinking about that yourself as you listen to this story. What kind of parallels do you draw between the story and what we're experiencing in the world around us or in your own life? I'm going to draw some conclusions and some different interpretations. I really wrestled with a variety of interpretations with this Torah portion, and then we can continue the discussion. We can't really do it in this way, but you can definitely add your comments and thoughts Facebook message in the comments section as we're reading through this. Feel free to offer what comes to your mind as we're going through this. What's your connection to this text? That way we can imagine we're in some kind of Chavruta study, that we're studying this together, even though at this moment it's purely frontal. And I'm sure Cantor Gurney will have a few insights as well at the end. But let's look at what happened at the end of last week, okay? The end of last week, Torah portion Balak, we are getting very close to reaching the promised land. We are basically at the edge of the promised land because we're almost at the end of the book of Numbers. And the book of Numbers ends with us at the border. And the book of Deuteronomy no longer a journey through the wilderness. We are at the edge of the wilderness, at the edge of the land of Israel. And then Moses gives 3 speeches. That's basically what Deuteronomy is 3 speeches as Moses prepares the Jewish people to enter the land of Israel without him, under the leadership of Joshua. And so the people are there. They have been given the 10 commandments. They have learned all the laws of the Torah, and yet they still don't seem to follow God's rules. And so they get pretty upset by this. While Israel was staying at Shittim, the people profane themselves by Moabite women. The Moabites were people they were not supposed to be sleeping with and having relations with, who invited the people to the sacrifices for their God. In other words, they started doing idol worship and not following in God's theology, and instead remember the golden calf. Yet again, the Jews are going towards idols. The people partook of them and worshipped that God. Thus, Israel attached itself to Baal Peor, and the Lord was incensed with Israel, understandably. The Lord said to Moses, take all the ringleaders and have them publicly impaled before the Lord, so that the Lord's wrath may turn away from Israel. In other words, Moses is saying, take all the leaders, everyone, and impale them. And Moses said to Israel's officials, each of you slay those of his men who attach themselves to Baal Peor. Moses is already actually just narrowing those who are supposed to be inflicted with pain to just those who are actually doing the act, not just the leaders of each of these tribes. Just then, one of the Israelites came and brought a Midianite woman over to his companions in the sight of Moses and the whole Israelite community, who were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Pinchas, it's pronounced Pinchas in Hebrew, when Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, remember, Aaron is Moses' brother, and so this is Aaron's grandson. All right, so this is Eleazar, who is of the priestly class, who is connected to Moses through family, through Aaron. Saw this, he left the assembly, and taking a spear in his hand, he followed the Israelite into the chamber and stabbed both of them, the Israelite and the woman, through the belly. Then the plague against the Israelites was checked. Those who died the plague numbered 24,000. Okay, that is just the prequel. That was all in last week's Torah portion. Interesting, we're talking about a plague. Right now we're dealing with a plague. We're dealing with a group of people who are standing at the tent of meeting, mourning the fact that in the midst of being told how to actually govern themselves and how to find health and peace, there are those who are not obeying those rules and are going out and doing what they're not supposed to do, cohabiting with other people and acting in ways that put the community at risk. And when that happens, there is one man who is a leader of the community. He's part of the priestly class. He decides in front of Moses and everyone else, even though he is not the ultimate leader as Moses is, he decides to take power into his own hands, and he goes and he attacks this Israelite man and this woman. At this point, we don't know who they are. He goes in as they are having sex with one another and impales them, stabs both of them through their mid side, their bellies, and kills them in front of everyone else. And the plague stops. And that's the end of last week's Torah portion. All right. So already we get a hint that something that this man, that Pinchas did, abated God's anger, right? That this zealous act, by the way, Pinchas is used by the Maccabees later as a real guide for Judah the Maccabee in the story of Hanukkah, because they were both zealous in their ways. All right. So now that was just a prequel. Now we get into the continuation of the story in the beginning of this Torah portion. Okay. So now we continue with Pinchas. Parshat Pinchas. This is what Cantor Gurney was chanting. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the Israelites by displaying among them his passion for me, so that it did not wipe out the Israelite people in my passion. Say, therefore, I grant him my pact of friendship. Wrong. This is actually peace. If we are to look at the Hebrew itself, it's briti shalom. It is a pact of peace. I give him, and that's very important. It's not friendship. Friendship is a different type of connection here. But really, if you look at the Hebrew, God is saying, I'm giving a covenant. We should even change this. Covenant of peace. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a pact of priesthood for all time, because he took impassioned action for his God, thus making expiation for the Israelites. Weird and very disturbing story at this point. Here is a man, we're not done yet though, in a minute we'll continue, but here is a man who, through this zealous act of killing these two people, even though they weren't obeying the rules, is somehow rewarded by God. And he's rewarded with a covenant of peace. And this idea that he and his ancestors are going to have this covenant and this special relationship with God for generations to come. So is this a warning about breaking the rules, and that all of us should be undertaking the seriousness of this pandemic? Because if we don't, We need to strike firmly against those who are not protecting the entire community. And of course, it doesn't mean to firmly stand our ground by killing people, but we should take a zealous approach to how we need to protect one another and to end the plague, because here in this plague, it is through that zealous action that Pinchas is able to stop the plague. We continue to deal with a growing number of coronavirus cases in this country, and especially here in California. Should we take a more zealous approach? We haven't been strong enough, argues the Torah in this interpretation, and you need to be even more firm in your beliefs in the way in which you understand how we need to protect one another. And the more zealous you can be, that's when the plague will be abated and we'll be able to go back to life as it was, which the reality is we probably never will have life as it was again the same way. So is that one thing? Or is this a warning about zealotry and the hardening hearts that we find when people take a zealous approach to all kinds of things? And if we want to take it to what we're dealing with in our own world today, that zealotry is not the way, that leads to death. And it leads to more pain. And in fact, what God is doing when God says, I will give you a pact of peace, it's not God saying, congratulations, Pinchas, you did exactly what you should have done. In fact, it's saying, you know what, Pinchas? That was not the right thing to do. Zealotry and a zealous approach to trying to move an entire community towards a more peaceful world, to try and get people to actually abide by the rules. In this case of the Torah portion, it's the rules of God. In our case, it's the rules of how we're going to get through this pandemic together. No, it's not through zealotry. It's not through going and trying to burn down other people or try and chastise them if they're doing things different than you are in terms of social distancing or whatever. In fact, it's trying to find a way in which you can come through into a covenant of peace, a brit shalom. And that this is a gift that God is trying to give to Pinchas to teach him a lesson and to teach all of us a lesson. And that actually, as Cantor Gurney referenced at the very beginning of this Torah portion, remember, now we learn that Pinchas is the grandchild of Aaron, who is the high priest. So he's part of the priestly class. From this point forward, later on in this Torah portion, we hear a very long list of the sacrifices and the ways in which the priests are supposed to deal with sacrifices. And it's not through sacrificing people, it's through sacrificing animals. It's about shifting this idea towards a more peaceful, even though one could argue that sacrificing animals still isn't so peaceful, but it's definitely better than sacrificing humans, that this is about a shift in our tradition that is saying that zealotry is not going to bring about more peace in our community. When we are looking out there and more, whether you're looking at the news or whether you're walking down the street and in your mind you're thinking, God, why isn't that person wearing a mask? Or I can't believe that person's wearing a mask. We don't need to wear masks. Wherever you're coming from, the idea that I'm holding on to is both that this is a Torah portion about a warning, that you have to be aware that we are in this together, that the repercussions of your actions, no matter what those actions are, have a profound impact on our ability as a community to move forward and to get to the promised land. Because remember, we're getting very close to that promised land. You can't go into a promised land and to a whole new vision of what this world is going to be if you are not doing it through peace. And so even though there are those forces out there who are zealous and who are the cancel culture approach, so to speak, instead, how can we try and understand that we are being given a brit shalom, this gift of peace? It's not easy to do, but it's a more powerful way, I think, that the Torah is trying to suggest to us that we can move through a plague as this one. Now, one other little point about this, and Rabbi Eshel talked about this last night, and this is in this Torah portion also a significant passage about women empowerment, female empowerment. The daughters of Zelophehad, these 5 daughters who are given land, they go to Moses and say, our father did not have any sons, and therefore we should have the right to inherit his land. And Moses takes this to God, and God says, they're right. Change the law. Create a Torah law specifically based on these women. An example of how disenfranchised women successfully confront an unjust system and propose a more equitable law. One of the powerful ways that I think that we are going to be moving into a more peaceful future is to look at ways in which we can partner with those who have been disenfranchised, those whose voices have not been so loud, those who have now have the opportunity to raise awareness for things that have been laying underneath the surface for a long time. And that one of the key ways that we are going to move into this Brit Shalom, this covenant of peace, is to start to bring in the voices of those who haven't had a voice before. And if we can incorporate them, and we can take on a more peaceful approach to working together as a society, and to really see that we have to get through this plague and this pandemic as one community, and we have to figure out a way to lead one another, because if we're not going to find leadership, at the top that's consistent, then we have to figure out a way locally and within our own communities to figure out a way to lead one another and to guide one another. And I think that the daughters of Zelophehad give us a clue that we have to also open our ears and our minds to the voices that may not have been so loud, or right now aren't as loud as some of the loudest voices that we find on both ends of the spectrum. And that if we can do that, we're going to be able to make it a little closer to that promised land. So that's what I'm taking away from this week's Torah portion. Anything you wanted to add, Cantor Gurney?
I would I would be happy to respond, just to say that's what you offered is in a broad stroke way an inspiring and enlightening example of the study of Torah. Broad strokes. You and I, we chatted a little bit before we went on this morning, and I about, this is a really troublesome Torah portion to deal with. And I'm thinking now that Heschel's approach to the Torah was that it's all poetry, which means his approach was it's poetry and it's all symbolism, right? And if we read it literally and just superficially, you can't get really anywhere in this Torah portion. He slaughtered people and he gets rewarded. How can Judaism, the prophetic Judaism, how can we accept that, right? But what you've exampled for us so beautifully is that, no, it demands of us that we go deeper and deeper into the text and find its meaning and make it relevant. And at the end of the day, look at how completely relevant you made it for us. And it is striking, really striking to see the meaning in it and how important it is and relevant in our own experience now. Very much so. I would just add the sages chose the Haftarah from the Book of Kings, which describes the experience of Elijah, who does the same thing through his zealotry. He slays the priests of Baal, and then has to flee for his life, right? And God protects him as well, So this is Elijah the prophet, right? And in some of the commentaries, he ends up having to walk, 40 days and 40 nights after having received, refreshment out in the wilderness to escape. And the number is not random. It's to mirror the experience of Moses, who also, had to fast for 40 days and 40 nights on the mountain. And in that way, they're almost saying that Elijah and Moses were the one and the same person. Right? So how could you have more elevated status than that? And yet Elijah also, killed through his zealotry, right? And the message of it's a different message, right? And you took us there, far deeper than a superficial reading. So in a lot of ways, it's just a beautiful teaching and a model of how to study Torah. Right?
So that's what energizes me every single week, is the idea that this tradition as ancient as it is, really is so relevant in our lives. And there's such a depth there that can really guide us to try and become better people and to try and better the world around us. And when we're at home, when we're not as distracted by the outside world in the same way, I think we have a responsibility to be working on ourselves, working on our own Torah, working on our own teachings, so that when we start to disperse and go out, that we are feeling grounded, that we're feeling centered, that we have done the spiritual work within ourselves to try and become better people and to try and therefore bring about a little bit more peace and to bring our own Brit Shalom, our own covenant of peace, out to those around us, to those who may be flailing and faltering. There
Yeah.
as a transition, it talks about the plague, and there are many of us now who are plagued, of course, by the pandemic. There are those who are plagued by emotional challenges during this time, and of course, other health challenges that exist that are separate from COVID-19. And so we're turning now to Misha Berach, and feel free, if you're watching on Facebook, to share the names on there of the people whom you're thinking of. There is a power, as you know, when we say a name out loud. Just for example, we used to, once we started going virtual for Mourner's Kaddish, we at first were just scrolling the names of the yard sites, and then we got some feedback that people wanted to hear the names, and we changed that to now then read out all the yard site names. Even though it's long, there is a power in saying a name out loud, both for Mourner's Kaddish, but also, of course, for Misha Berach when we're thinking about those who are in need of healing. So just even if you can't say it and we can't hear it, you can please write those names down so you can have the power of articulating them in the comments section. We're also I'm thinking about Elliot Caption, my grandfather. We're thinking about Nancy Lewis and Francis Sparagna. And if there are any other names, feel free to add them to the comment section as well as we continue with Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. We're also thinking about Coleman D. Begun and Jason Bell, two names that were offered on Facebook. We're now going to turn to Mourner's Kaddish, as I mentioned. For this part, where we will cut away and think of those who have passed away in our community in the last month, and then the yard sites, and then we'll come back together to offer Mourner's Kaddish live together with all of you.
On this Shabbat, we remember those who have passed away in the last month. Max Berry, Mary Jane Fate, Marvin Gantz, Sion Javahari, Thomas Klein, Bill Phillips, Rabbi Stanley Robin, Eric Rothenberg, Kelly Schiffer, Kent Sherman. Also this week, we remember the fallen American soldier who lost his life this week, Vincent Sebastian Ibarria. On this Shabbat, we commemorate the following yard sites: Alan Barbacow, Norman Beck, Lee Bennett, Ray Badashansky, Glika Brenner, David Cantor, Bernard Cezanne, Ed Chains, Beatrice Court, Louise Creamer, Bruce Dardick, Robert Deschel, Lorraine Eisenstadt, Harry Feinstein, Shirley Fenton, Samuel Firks, Theodore Flesch, Dorothy Fox, Melba Frank, Blanche Friedman, Marcia Gardner, Raymond Gertz, Anita Grad, Lillian Grossberg, Letta Hilliard, Minna Horowitz, Monroe Eisen, Elizabeth Jacobs, Aaron Simmons, Deary Carrots, Sheila Caston, Max Kessler, Jess Kuden, Zelda Leventer, Suzanne Lax, Ron Levi, Erwin Liebman, Aileen Liedenbaum, Beverly Mandel, Diane Marks, Linda Mattison, George Milder, Jamshid Nehorai, Lisa Nesbitt, Paul Orloff, Lillian Palanker, Leonard Penn, Bess Ratner, Mary Redler, Meyer Rice, Arthur Rosenfeld, Sidney Rosen, Dorothy Rubin, Minnie Ruby, Herbert Schirmer, Jacob Schwartz, Shirley Schwartz, Robert Sedway, Alex Schulman, Pauline Stark, Greisel Stern, Stanley Talpus, Jerry Traeger, Marion Trebas, Joan Tucker, Ruth Wallace, Jerry Weintraub, Joseph Weiner, Theodore Zola. We also acknowledge those who have died defending the state of Israel and those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We join together as a community and recite Kaddish together.
We join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'kadash shmei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chay d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'elam ol me'el maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha brichu.
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mamav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, Joel.
Shabbat shalom, Don. So great leading with
you. A pleasure and an honor to be with you.
And thank you everyone for tuning in on Facebook and offering your comments, and hope we can continue the conversation into the week and every other Shabbat from this point forward. So we'll join together in a virtual Kiddush and Motzi. Don's going to be having more of this wine on the beach later today, as he already talked about his ideal Shabbos lunch.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim, everyone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom. Robert, I see your comment. I'll slow down on the Hebrew next time. Thank you for that feedback. Any other feedback any of you have? It is a Jewish community, so we not only look forward to your comments, but we expect comments from you. If you're not giving us any comments, it's not a Jewish experience. So please share any feedback you have with us.
We need and want them.
Yes, thank you to Tess and Jessica, who are behind the scenes helping us with the production of this morning, and wishing you all a peaceful and a brit shalom, a covenant of peace for you and your loved ones, and a healthy and restful Shabbat. So thank you.
Enjoy,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom.
Enjoy your day, Joel. Take care.
You too, Don.
Bye bye, everyone.